Hey guys, Scott here. Today I want to talk about an Operation Health for Dead by Daylight. If you're unaware, Operation Health was a patch in Rainbow Six Siege that sort of aimed to improve the framework of the game that improved things in the future, but there was no new content. They couldn't really make money from it. It was just to improve the framework of the game. And whether or not it was successful, that term is used in Dead by Daylight a lot to refer to a theoretical patch in which there's no new content, no new killers, maps, perks, anything. It's just built to make the game more stable and fix a lot of the glaring issues like camping or tunneling or map design or reliance on gen slowdown perks, solo queue, communication, just all that stuff. It would be a patch to address all that, but there would be nothing new to the game, and they would spend their entire 3-month cycle just on that. So that's what that is. If you've ever heard that term before, referred to for Dead by Daylight specifically, that's what it would be. So I'm kind of split on this. I used to have the opinion that I don't think it's really something that would be possible because when you have no new content, you don't really make money. And Behavior is a giant company with like 1,300 people. And DBD, let's be real, is their known game. I don't even know any of the other games that they've touched. Other games like Meet Your Maker and that puzzle game they made. I don't even remember the Isles of something. They're not exactly boisterous successes. So Dead by Daylight really is their big source of money, and I've always been of the opinion they can't afford to just not have new content for 3 months because the player base will go down and there's nothing they can really sell. But after talking to some people on Twitter, I actually did change my mind about some of these points. But let's go over first why it would not work, and then let's go over how it actually could work. So reasons it would not work. Like I said, they can't really monetize a lack of new content. There's no new survivor killer, cosmetics or perks or the killer, the content and the survivor content actually themselves. They can't sell any of that stuff. Additionally, when there's no new content, the amount of players starts to go down. Like DBD's player base is always just sort of like this, right? When you are at this low point, that's right before a new killer comes out. And then when you're up here, it's right when the new killer comes out. So we would just have all the down. It would just keep going down for that 3 months. Actually, it would go down for basically 6 months until new content came back. And then with that new content, people would come back and go, oh, hey, look, the game actually feels a lot better now. This is nice. So in the long term, it might increase the player base. But short term, probably for about a period of about half a year, there would be less players, less money, less everything. So it's not really a responsible thing for the company to do. Another reason it might not work is that let's assume we give them 3 months to finally fix a lot of these main issues. That just assumes that Behavior suddenly just figures out how to fix these issues. It doesn't mean if you give them a period of time to actually fix this stuff, it doesn't just suddenly mean that they know how to fix this stuff now. Like, they do not exactly have a great history of fixing bugs and fixing hugely problematic things in the game. So I'm not sure why people think suddenly if we gave them 3 months to do that, they would just suddenly be better at it. They might just spend 3 months doing nothing or making more bugs. That's what I'm saying. You don't actually know. It would be sort of a gamble. Now, if they had the time to dedicate it solely to fixing that stuff, statistically, it would just be more likely that they do fix a lot of the bugs, but it's Behavior. We're not really guaranteed much of anything here, so it could be a scenario where they dedicate all this time to doing nothing or just making the game even worse somehow. So it's a gamble. It would be a huge gamble that the time spent would even actually do anything, and that's another reason it might not work. But let's go over reasons it could work. One of the main things that Twitter actually convinced me of is that just because there's no new survivor or killer content doesn't mean you can't make money. And in fact, something I've always thought of, they are just sitting on a gold mine that I don't know why they don't tap into. If they just made a Mori store and a survivor animation store, they would make millions and millions of dollars. That is not a joke. They would make so much money if they just did that. And if we were in a 3-month period where they were just doing an Operation Health thing and there was no new killers to animate or cosmetics for them to animate or survivors cosmetics to make, if it was all dedicated to just fixing bugs, well, then the cosmetic team didn't really have much to do during that time. They could spend that time making Moris for every killer, making... You know how much money a single new survivor animation would make? I know every time I talk about this, people would just use it to BM. People are already using the point and the come here to BM. It doesn't matter. As long as they have a physical emote, they will BM with it. You can't stop it. Embrace it. Make some money off it. It's a no-brainer. On console, you can have a radio wheel. On mouse and keyboard, you got plenty of buttons for like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You can bind them to whatever. Just throw some fucking Fortnite dances in here. You would make so much money. You wouldn't even need new killers or survivors. Just add dances and shit to the game. And I guarantee they would make so much money. Again, would people BM with it? Of course. But they already do that. How many times you get stunned by a pallet, someone clicks a flashlight and just come here emote? It's the same shit. It doesn't matter. They're still going to do it. So at least make money off of it, you know? So new animations for killers and survivors would be millions of free dollars. I can't stress how many people would buy that. You could even charge more money for those because animations are typically harder to do than cosmetics. So you could actually just make them, you could charge $15 for Moris and people would buy them up like hotcakes. I guarantee it. You don't even need new cosmetics. I know they've done that with a few killers that have actually custom Moris that come with custom cosmetics. You don't need to do that. Just make it so the killer just has a Mori you can equip that's different. Nothing crazy. You would have a Mori slot now. So that's something they could easily monetize and make an insane amount of money with. Another reason it could work is because although there would be a decrease in the short term, if a lot of the reason that people stop playing the game kind of gets addressed and fixed, those players might actually come back. Now, I still think a new game mode would be by far the most important thing to bring those players back. But once they come back for that, having everything else fixed on top of that would be something that would retain those players for a really long time. I don't think people realize just how big Dead by Daylight is. Like, this game has millions and millions and millions of players. It is a hugely, hugely popular game. It's been in like the top 25 of Steam pretty much since the game came out. That is extraordinary, and I feel like people don't really give the game enough credit. DBD is a massive game. If you just go look at the store page for Dead by Daylight on Steam, if you look at how it's got like 600,000 reviews. Like Baldur's Gate 3, the game of the year, has like 500,000 or something. Like, the whole point is, it is a wildly popular game. I get it's been out for a long time, but my whole point is, it is an extremely popular game, and so many people have played it and have bad memories of it, and if those things were addressed that they have bad memories from, it's likely that they, over a period of time, would trickle back in, and the game's player base, although dropping at first, would start to exponentially grow again. But again, this is all contingent on them actually fixing issues with map design and camping and tunneling and reliance on slowdown, survivors not being able to see each other's perks and solo queue, miscommunication, things like that. All that stuff would need to actually be addressed to get people to come back, and that's a tall order. I don't even think they can do that in 6 months, let alone 3 months. So the idea of an Operation Health, it is a possibility, and financially, it can actually work if they dedicate the resources to doing it. Will it actually be successful? That is a giant coin toss with behavior. I have no idea if it would be successful. I would love it for it to be successful, but like I said, it's a giant coin toss. So the question is it worth dedicating the resources to doing it? Probably yes. In my opinion, I lean like 60-40 yes to no. It would be so much higher. I just don't have that much faith in behavior to fix a lot of bugs and issues that the game has because, let's face it, after almost 8 years of being out, they've proven they're not very good at that, or at least they don't do it in a timely manner. So if they were super competent all of a sudden, I would say yes, go for it. You can do it. You can monetize it. But their history in fixing these things is shady at best. So that's why I'm slightly in favor for it, but I wouldn't be expecting much. I wouldn't have very high expectations. And the down period of 6 months with no new content would be awful for content creators. If it happened, like, say, in June when Elden Ring DLC came out, I'd be like, yeah, fuck it, go for it. But if I got to play the game for 6 months with nothing new, I'm going to be struggling, and I'm willing to bet most content creators would be struggling a lot too. So on the content creation side of things, that would be really rough. But that's overall it. I just want to have a discussion about an Operation Health for the game. It's always been discussed, and I did change my mind after reading a lot of people's opinions on Twitter, so I thought that was interesting at best, and I wanted to talk about that. But I'm curious to hear what you guys think. Is it worth it? Is it not worth it? How could they monetize it? Would it be feasible to do it at all? But that's about it. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.